Hey, welcome, and thank you for listening or watching the Focus Forward Business Podcast. I'm Sturdy McKee, your host. I'm a business coach and advisor and help business owners. And today I'm happy to introduce you to Dr. Stephen Peaden. Dr. Peaden is the founder of Restore PhysicalTherapy in Panama City. And while working with all kinds of orthopedic issues, I know that his passion is working with who he likes to call the functional athlete, or the rest of us, we know those people as CrossFitters and powerlifters and that type of thing. But thanks very much for being here, Dr. Peaden.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. So will you tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Well, I am a physical therapist in Panama City, Florida. I have 20 years of experience. I graduated from UF in 2001 with my master's degree. Came home and I've worked in outpatient orthopedics ever since. Like to do, like Sturdy said, a lot of CrossFit athletes, functional fitness athletes. And I opened my own physical therapy office in April of 2017. And I started out just myself. And we've had some ups and downs, but I've been able to add to the staff with another PT and a PTA, and we're doing pretty well. We're getting busier as the 2021 rolls along, and hopefully we're getting away from this pandemic that is going on right now, that we're trying to get out of the hole.
Yeah, everybody's hope. So was Restore PT your first business?
Yes, it was. I've worked 20 years for 16 years in other small physical therapy clinics, local physical therapy clinics. Mm-hmm. And just stayed home. Family's here, everyone's here, and like being home.
So cool. So how'd you get started in the business? Tell us about that decision and journey change that you went through.
Oh, without going into too much detail, I was working for another physical therapy clinic in town, and I kind of challenged myself where I felt like I was spinning my wheels, that I had been a physical therapist for 15 years, and I didn't really know, other than treating patients, which I love to do, I didn't know kind of where else I wanted to go with it. I was kind of just complacent, and some things went on at work and kind of set me off on a path to really focus on this decision. Do I really want to do it? And so I asked some questions, had friends of friends that I got in contact with, and it was really not as hard as I thought it was going to be. But again, like I told Sturdy in the wee hours of the morning, when you open up your office and you're laying there, oh, what am I doing? I don't really know. Did I mess up? Maybe I can call him back. But no, I think it's been great. We've been open. April will be 4 years that we've been open. I actually started with Sturdy in 2018.
So as a client.
As a client with coaching, and he kind of set me off on the right path, and with the way that he coaches and the playbook, so to say.
Well, thanks for that. But
there's your plug.
You're coming up on 4 years, and your business has survived a hurricane, like a direct hit. You can tell us more about that, and a pandemic. And we'll get to this as well, but you're on the verge of expanding and maybe building out your own building and clinic and all that. So tell us, go back to the hurricane a little bit, because you had some interesting stories.
Yes, interesting discussions, that around that time of year. So October 10th, Hurricane Michael hit Panama
2018,
City.
Right?
2018, yeah, sorry. 2018 hit Panama City, and it was Category 5. And I've lived here my whole life, and I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, there's just the whole town was leveled And I mean, we were out of business. I wasn't even, my wife and kids and I left and went to my parents' farm north of here, about 45 minutes away. And it was still pretty bad up there. Trees down, and anyway, in town buildings were destroyed, and it was awful. Never seen anything like it. But at that point, you kind of sit there and say, well, not really sure what I'm supposed to do at this point. Maybe I can, I mean, you start wondering, maybe, do I need to move somewhere else and pick up, or do you leave it, or do you salvage it? I mean, you don't know what to do at that point. You've never seen this. But the first thing was to, as soon as we could, to get home to our home and kind of reassess, assess the damage and what can we salvage from this? And luckily, unlike so many other people here, our house, we missed, I think we had 3 sheets of shingles fly off our roof. So I can't tell you how lucky we were, because even to this day, there are people fighting with insurance companies that are living in trailers in their front yard because their house is unlivable.
Right.
And it's just, I mean, right around the corner. They're right here.
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I took a week off.
Well, kind of forced to, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I couldn't really come in and see anybody. But we cleaned up the house and that kind of thing. And about 6 or 8 days later, my wife talked to one of her friends, and she said that she drove by the office and said that the power was on. And this was like on a Sunday night, I think. And I said, my wife told me that. And I said, well, man, I'm going to go to work in the morning. And she said, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do, but you can go. So I went and started doing things like reassessing, like how can I get communication? How can I talk to my patients that I had before the storm? And so my wife's a software engineer, so she finagled some way because Verizon was out here. We had no Verizon signal at all. AT&T worked just fine. So sorry, Verizon, but anyway, but we, I was able to talk to a lot of the patients that I had, before the storm hit. And so many of them were active duty military, because we have a Navy base and an Air Force base here. And the base commanders told all of them just to make an order for the whole base to get out of town and don't come back until we say so. So I called around, and spoke to everyone that I could. Just, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? You had an appointment today. Where were you? No, kid, I didn't do that. No. But really just kind of kept tabs on patients that were there, that had been coming in. And, slowly, I was able to, that day was pretty much summed up in phone calls and just checking on people. And then the next day, and honestly, I had 2 or 3 patients that said, and this was on a Monday, I guess. And, patients said, well, I can't get there today, but I could probably come Friday. And I said, okay, if you feel like you can do that, I'll see you then, and I verified their appointment and all the stuff to make sure that I was here. But Tuesday, the following day, I said, well, I need to do something. What can I be proactive with? And so I drove around and I stopped at almost every doctor that there was a car in the parking lot, and went and knocked on the front door. And actually, I think that was one of the things that helped me in the marketing department, because I think I was the only therapy clinic that was open that day on this side of town, just because the other ones are the other buildings that other therapy clinics are in are taller, and they assess more damage than I did. But anyway, I was actually able to market to a couple of key practices, and they've been a huge referral source ever since October of 2018. And just for the mere fact that I was it, and that they had patients.
Well, and that you reached out and you cared and you were checking on them too. I mean, there's
right. I mean, they had patients that had surgery right before the hurricane. I mean,
right.
rotator cuffs wait on no one. You know?
Right. No, the healing body. Right.
Yeah. They had to go. And so I tried to help as much as I could to get those patients taken care of.
Well,
So
and it wasn't, I just want to say, it wasn't like you were unscathed either. Because I remember one of our meetings, you had told me you had just been out in the pond behind the building, pulling your awning out.
Yeah.
And some other items. Right.
Yeah, the awning flew over the building and landed in the retention pond out back, and I had to put on my waders and go out there and get it. And the ducks are just kind of swimming by. Hey, buddy. Hey, good to see you. Ducks are doing duck things, living their best life. And I'm not.
Right. Well, fewer people and it was all wet. They're happy.
Right. Right.
So, well, and you survived that. You had done some really smart things ahead of that, but because, and I say survive that because you were able to reach out and get other people in, but a lot of your client base literally left town for what, 6 months or more?
It was at least until the majority of the active duty military that I saw were told not to come back until January at the earliest. I think if I get that
So
right,
they started trickling back in 3 months later.
Right.
Yeah.
There were still some people that were coming in locals, and there were some military that were tasked with staying here to help the cleanup effort.
Sure.
It just, the stories I heard about them staying in campers on base, that they didn't have electricity or anything. I mean, it was
they were camping.
Intense. Yeah, literally just one level above tents.
Well, and then the pandemic, kind of the opposite happened, right? That if I remember right, the military stayed and were basically, what were they told?
They were essentially told, and I think some of those rules are still in effect, where you could go to, so many of them were sent home to work from home, to do their telecom and video conferencing type work. They were told to work from home. There are several contractors on the base, civilian contractors at the Air Force Base and at the Navy base that were told to work from home. And so, we had no patients. We had very few patients, I'll say, coming in, again, because of the scare. Nobody knew what this was,
right.
Initially.
Right. You had to sort it out for the first, I don't know how many months, right?
Yeah. So there were some slow days, 10 months ago, 11 months ago.
Well, okay. So at this stage, tell us where you are now, because we kind of focused on some of the more severe challenges we've gone through, but things are looking pretty optimistic, and you're on the verge of breaking ground, perhaps.
Yeah. So it's end of February. I was telling Sturdy earlier that we're building. We've got patients coming back that are more likely to sign up for therapy and come in, and we're taking the necessary precautions, masks and distance and cleaning equipment and that kind of thing, to make sure people feel comfortable when they're coming in here for therapy. So we're doing that. We're taking those precautions, and we've got we are in the process of getting permitting to build a new building for a new therapy office in town. And we'll be able to probably add another therapist or two, and be able to take care of more patients. Just a bigger space to take care of Bay County.
One you're in control of too, right?
Right. Yes. I'm renting right now, but yeah, this one I'll be purchasing this one.
Yeah, that's awesome. So through all this ups and downs, and you're doing this project while you're growing the business, time's always a challenge. Time's one thing we can't create more of, right? So any advice you would give another business owner who's kind of struggling with having enough time, balancing juggling priorities and stuff? How have you managed that?
Well, I think when I first started, it was pretty easy to take care of everything myself. Wasn't that busy. So, you could treat patients, and then you could go, you could pay the bills and go to the bank and, meet doctors and get out and market and talk to people. And so now we're there's myself and two other full-time clinicians here. And I find myself, having weekly meetings with them, as well as the my administrative assistant up front, or receptionist up front, talk with her, and it's different hats, and I feel like I'm wearing a lot of hats right now. But I think that you got to prioritize, you got to schedule, you have to delegate for sure. And that was one of the biggest things that I, like I said, when we were slow, I could do it all myself. But now that, we have, 3 times as many patients coming in, and, I have to worry about the schedule. I have to talk therapists through some treatments and that kind of thing, because they're relatively new to the career, or to the career field. So they do need training. They do need education, tips, support, and tricks from somebody that's been around and seen things that they haven't seen. But yeah, delegation is key. Meeting with them individually and talking to them on an individual basis, where you can coach them, in not only in therapy, but in also in just interacting with people, just problem solving, critical thinking. And I think that, again, that one of them has been out of school 3 years, another one has been out of school 2 years. So they're still really, really new to the field. And you just want to help, you just want, but you got to schedule the time. If you don't, then next thing you know, you're back to being a therapist with a full schedule, and you're working later hours, and you're working weekends, and you're doing all this stuff. I mean, that happens anyway. But if you can prioritize and delegate things that can be delegated, life is a whole lot easier.
Well, and tell us a little bit more about the meetings. I'm a big advocate of the one-on-one meetings, but what's that done for you?
Right. Well, it does several things. It gives the therapist an opportunity to speak frankly to me, and just be open with me, and don't feel like they have to hold back because there's just 2 of us instead of all 4 of us sitting in a room together. They to bring up any issues they might have, personal issues, professional issues, and we can discuss it then. If it's a big enough issue that it's more than just one person, then we can cover that in a staff meeting, or hopefully it's just a 5-minute, staff meeting at the beginning of the day. Hey, this is, we're having issues with this diagnosis. Okay, how do we fix that? And that way everybody's learning. But it's learning, it's establishing that relationship with your therapists, with the people that work for you, that are really helping you out. Honestly, they it's you're establishing that rapport with them. You're bringing up new the values. You reinstill the values of why I opened this clinic in the first place. I wanted to do things my way. And that's who you look for when you go to hire someone anyway, is someone that you think is receptive to what your values are, that will work with you and try to help your business be the best it can be.
So one of the things I'm hearing from you is that opportunity to be the support, kind of the servant leadership model,
right?
Of being able to give them your undivided attention, find out where they are, what they need, and tailor your support, feedback, teaching, coaching to them individually.
Right. Yeah.
So what's their take on that? Well, no, I mean,
I think I know they appreciate it, because it has, again, them being so new to the field, and they went to school. They know how to do therapy. There's tricks from the old dog, that has been around 20 years, that has seen a certain diagnosis, a dozen times and they've never seen it, and it's not a textbook. Not that many are textbook
Right.
cases of things, but that it gives them time to express what they don't know, or like I said, frustrations and that kind of thing. And then I can just, like you said, kind of make it a personalized approach to helping them solve their problem.
Mhm.
But I had a president of a bank that was a patient of mine years ago, and now he's a pretty good friend. And he said, I asked him what he did the first time I met him, and he said, "Well, I help people do their job, and I get out of the way." But he never told me he's a bank president. And I said, "So what do you really do?" He's, "Oh, the president of such and such bank." I said, "All right, well," and I thought about that, and you really are managers and owners and clinic directors and whatever your title is. If you're a supervisory, you got to help the people under you. You got to help them do their job. They know how to do, for the most part, like I said, the therapists know how to do therapy.
Right. You hope they know how to do their job.
Right.
Right.
And that should be the base of getting the job in the first place. But but you got to coach them, because you'll help them out in their career, but you'll also help yourself out. Just because you're entering into, it's not Stephen being the therapist now, it's Stephen being the mentor, employer, and I think they will see a lot of value in that, because you care about people that came to work for you.
Right. Well, and these are some huge points. So for those folks listening, really, one of the things I encounter with business owners is kind of, we deal with some of their own baggage, right? So when there are people who resist wanting to meet with, meeting with their staff individually. And a lot of that, what I find, comes from their past experience of meeting with their supervisors, their managers. And, when those things happen in their history anyway, they were in trouble, right? Or something had gone
Right.
wrong.
Yeah.
Or it was an annual review and the salary was on the line, or these are anxiety-ridden, high-stress kind of meetings. So,
Right.
They come into it going, well, I'm not going to do that to my staff. And it's a different mindset, though. You're not doing these things because something's gone wrong. You're keeping your eye on the road, and helping them on a regular basis where they get your undivided attention. And, you do have experience they don't have. For all
Right.
those folks listening, you're running the place. You've got a unique set of perspective, experience, all that you bring to it that you can help them with and support them. And I really like what you said, Stephen, about the coaching piece, because that's, if you'll think about who your best coach was, they didn't just yell at you to do the same thing over and over. They didn't teach you the same thing over and over and over. They didn't tell you, they didn't go up and tell Jimmy, you got to hit 322 this year. And, if you don't, then we're going to penalize you. And, that's the end of the coaching, right? They coach the process. They know the targets. I mean, when we talk about that stuff, we speak that language. We know the targets, we know the numbers and stuff. But your players don't necessarily, or don't even need to. They need to know where their feet go and their grip and where their head is, and the component parts of it. And that's the opportunity I think you get with those meetings that you're, that you've done so well with, and really with the right mindset too, that attitude of I'm here to help you and support you.
Right. So, and some of those meetings are even, like I said, it's weekly. And so several of those meetings will be, hey, let's talk. Okay. You doing okay? Doing great. It's okay.
Anything they don't take that
about?
long.
No, I feel like I'm good. Okay. Do you have anything for me? No, I'm good. All right. Well, let me know. And that's it. I mean, they might take 5 minutes, but there might be a difficult patient that they've been working on 4 or 5 visits and there's no change. Okay, I've done this, this
all
and
the
this
things
and
I
this.
know to do.
Yeah. And so, this is something else that I got from you was, you don't just tell them the answer. You've got to make them work for it. You've got to ask the questions. You got to ask the questions and have the uncomfortable silence so they can think, and figure it out, because they will come to the right answer a lot of the time. You know,
And
if
when
you don't
they
have,
do, right, and when they do they remember it better?
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. They've worked for it. They've not just been spoon fed an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great lesson too for folks who are, if people are coming to you all the time with questions and you're interrupted a bunch and you're kind of tired and exasperated, start turning that back into another question for them. Let them solve their own
Right.
problems. So another thing I encounter a lot, and we talk about on the podcast, is folks feeling, and I'm talking about business owners particularly, feeling kind of isolated, feeling alone, thinking they're the only ones kind of encountering whatever challenge they're dealing with. And the dirty little secret is we're all facing challenges. Sometimes they're
Right.
positive goals, sometimes they're, hurricanes and pandemics, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff are you currently running into, and what's your plan to deal with those and overcome them?
Well, again, not to keep bringing things up, but that we've been discussing. But the whole COVID pandemic. There are people that are still afraid and concerned about coming into therapy. Just
Sure.
they're meeting strangers that are outside their bubble. And so again, like I said, we've done what we can to clean surfaces, to wear masks, and maintain distance, and that kind of thing. And there is still a cancellation rate. That's one of the things that I think owners worry about. I think that's the biggest thing, really, right now, that we're looking at. That's the biggest problem.
Okay. And other than reassuring them, any other strategies, plans to get through that? Or just hang on till there are enough vaccines?
No, right?
That's part of it.
We we no, I think that's really all that we've been able to do. We'll make some phone calls and check on the patients that, when this first came out, and they just automatically said, well, I'm just not going to come to therapy anymore. We made sure that they were independent, that they had their home exercises, that they had those down, that they could perform those. We've called them and checked on them to make sure they were doing okay. The ones that definitely the high risk population, the 70s and 80-year-old patients that have been coming in.
Sure.
So we have checked in on them, and all of them seem to be doing fine. And if they might have had questions about the exercises, but we've been able to take care of them and make sure they understand them.
Cool. Well, and that's a huge point too, making sure that you're taking care of your customers and people and maintaining
Right.
contact. Yeah, you can't understate how important, or overstate how important that is. Yeah. So what's one of your proudest moments in business last several years?
Well, I think probably one of the proudest moments and biggest load off my mind was I paid off the business loan.
Oh, no. That's a huge
that was
milestone.
nice, and
yeah,
and that was good. That was probably my proudest moment. That I've kind of arrived. Not that I've arrived, but it helped me get rid of the doubt that I had on day one. I told a friend of mine, when you put your house down as collateral for the business loan, and you don't really think about it until you hear a knock at the door one day, and you open the door, and it's the appraiser said, "Hey, we need to appraise your house for the business loan." I said, "Oh, okay, well, here we go." I guess it's getting real, but I mean, at that point, it's you're getting past the point of no return there. So that was probably one of my scariest moments. But then again, paying off that, being debt free as far as the business goes, it's a hurdle that I'm really happy to have gotten over. And now, like I said, now we're on the next one. What are we going to do next?
No, that's awesome. Cool. Well, congratulations on that too.
Thank you.
So what's one of the biggest lessons you've learned recently that you wish you had known 5-10 years ago before you embarked on this journey?
Well, I as far as starting your own clinic, I had always worried about, will you be ready? Will you be successful? Do you know
Sure.
everything that you could know as a therapist? Do you,
Never.
I mean, right. Yeah, exactly. You never know everything, which is, as long as you realize that, I think you're in a better space. But the, you had someone on earlier here, maybe a month or so ago, that that talked about it, and he said this, but when I opened my clinic, I sat there the first day, and day one, the doors open and the lights are on, but you're in there by yourself, like, okay, well,
Right.
maybe this will work, and so, of course, and in a month, people, you have patients coming in, you've met with doctors, you have, people start to trickle in, and then next thing you know, you have a month where you break even. You're like, oh, this might actually work, and then next thing you know, you're actually turning a profit, and hey, I think I can do this, and so I've ridden that wave, that feel good wave, for a while, and then your guest Dan came on, and he said it, and it was perfect. He said, be prepared for success, to all those potential therapy clinic owners. And if I would have known that years ago, I wouldn't have started 4 years ago. I'd have started 8 years ago or 10 years ago. Just if I knew the success that I would have had, I would have done it a long time ago.
Well, but it's not that, not to say it was easy, because it wasn't, but you came to it with some real intention and preparedness that a lot of people don't. You had gone into management positions, you had paid attention and watched, gotten some training basically on somebody else's dime, which I think is very smart. So for anybody who's still working and thinking about it, start paying attention to those moving parts. Start, put yourself in the leadership manager role, if at all possible, and learn from that. Because if you can learn, while you're getting a paycheck somewhere, that'll solve some of your problems, not all of them.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but some when you go out on your own.
You won't necessarily reinvent the wheel.
Right. Well, and that's the big goal, right? We don't need to that's a huge one. So getting an accountability buddy, getting a mentor, getting somebody on your side who's been down the path before can be a huge asset as well, because we're all going to make mistakes. So what I demand of my clients, right, is just at least make new ones.
Right.
Don't repeat the stuff I already did and told you about.
Right.
Don't do that. But anyway, cool. So can you share with us like an article or a favorite book or anything that you're currently reading that's helped you out with business?
I'm not reading anything business.
You've been reading real estate stuff, probably.
Been reading wetland permits.
Well, that's pretty relevant.
Those are not interesting. Those aren't interesting at all.
Yeah.
I read one of the ones that you recommended to me a while back was the new factory thinking, where brick and mortar is a good way to go. It's not a bad option at all, but the new factory thinking, how you need to change mindset on, and it's okay to have that brick and mortar, but also the next level. And we talked earlier about scaling. You have to find something that you can give away in order to get some buy-in, to create a following on something else that you can become profitable with. And it was a great it was a video, I think, right?
Well, yeah, that's Bill Bishop. He's actually been a guest as well, and a friend of mine. But it's a different way of thinking, a different way of thinking outside the box, thinking outside the traditional way we think of like a brick and mortar traditional business. But still serving your customer, still using your expertise. You know, it's not,
Right.
it's again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's kind of
Right.
a way of tweaking what you currently have to do it in a different way to bring additional
Right.
value, and perhaps, you know, a lot broader reach. You know, that's one
Right.
of the things as well, that if you're thinking in those modes and you're redesigning what you do or creating another offering, sometimes you can do that, and suddenly your geographic barriers and stuff can be broken down. So you're
Right.
not just worried about, you know, so for anybody else interested, that's a great recommendation, Stephen, because if you're looking at something that like within 15 miles of your current location or 30 miles of your current location, suddenly when you get into Bill's mode of thinking, that those geographic limitations just go right out the window.
Right. Right. You're
And
removing those barriers.
yeah, and you're suddenly in, you know, the entire state or the country or the English speaking world,
Right.
or, you know, beyond that even. So, you know, that's a great one. Cool. Any other thoughts you want to leave us with before we wind down here?
I would say to all the those people that are those therapists that are thinking about doing it, just
Mhm.
you know, go for it. If it's what you've been wanting to do your research. Do your research. I mean, I'm not just saying jump in the deep end. I'm just, you know, do your due diligence. But man, it's been so you know, refreshing and self-fulfilling to get out and you know, be my own boss, and you know, you're still treating patients, but you're doing it how you want to do
On your own terms. Love
it.
it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you so much, man. This has been a great conversation. I know
Yeah, man.
people are going to get a bunch out of it. Had a lot of fun. So thank you very, very much for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.